Blessings in the name of the Lord Jesus. Welcome to Paraclet TV, making disciples through the power of the Holy Spirit. This video has this intended learning outcome. At the end of the session, 100% of you viewers with 100% level of proficiency will be able to discuss developmental dimensions of learning and to compare the development of learning of children, adolescents, and adults. Let us look at how children learns and how they develop. Children learning and development. In this topic, we will be considering important theory. The first one is dialectical theory. Dialectical theory recognizes the important roles of environment in shaping children's development. So the roles of environment will be discussed as it shapes the development of children. Under this, we have the four distinct dimensions that are being developed to children with respect to the environment. The first one is inner biological. Inner biological deals with the physiological maturation or internal processes within growing children. So in the study of psychology as well as health, that there is really a natural process of maturation or development of the physical as well as the physiological components of the body of an individual. Second, individual psychological. When we speak about individual psychological, it accounts for some traits and tendencies because psychological pertains to the mental as well as to the emotional development of children. These are the traits that are being developed within the children or within an individual, and his tendencies are of course influenced by what is happening outside of him or what is happening in dealing with another person or what is happening in his environment or what is happening in the society, what is he sees in the social media, in television, what he hears from the radio, or even what he is watching in the YouTube, or even what he is playing in the computer. Third distinct dimension, cultural sociological. Cultural sociological refers to the elements of one's cultural heritage such as religions, laws, and communities. And all the religions, the laws, and communities where a child grows has an effect. The effect can be positive or even negative. And this changes the individual for the creation of some disturbances in his life. Next, distinct dimension, other physical. When we speak about other physical dimension, it involves various phenomena such as climate, calamities, disasters, famine, and the like. The different typhoons that are experienced by an individual within his place, or even the pandemic, the COVID-19, has an influence on the development of the child, and we consider that as other physical dimension. Next, we have the inner psychological dimensions. The inner psychological dimensions has two areas. The first one is the perceptual, cognitive, moral domains. What is personal, cognitive, moral domains? So the individual responds to the interactions in the environment. As children experience, they develop abilities to identify, see, observe, determine, transform, manipulate, and the like. So that is how he perceives what is happening around him. Because perception, the brain has a capacity to be molded accordingly to what he is seeing, identifying, determining, and observing. And after perception, there is also the so-called cognition. As children grow, they seek to construct an understanding of the world. And understanding depends upon the individual ability to perceive. There are children that will perceive maturely, but there are also children that will not perceive it correctly. And the second area of inner psychological dimension is the socio-emotional or personality domains. Children learn how to feel, to act, and control their feeling. And even the socio-emotional or personality domains of children differ from one child to the other. So the maturity level of an individual differs from one another. That's how we consider in children's learning and development. So we can also consider another learning, and this is about adolescents learning. Adolescents are more focused on the development of the physical self. It is marked by dramatic physical changes and attainment of sexual maturity. So at this stage, we know that adolescents are more focused on the development of their physique or of their physical body because of the changes, gradual changes or even abrupt changes on their arms, on their breasts, on their hips, or even the changes of voices or the changes of tones or volume of their voice, and even the appearance of the different hairs within the particular parts of the body. And not only that, adolescents also have changes in their brains. Their brain focuses on the development involving emotions and higher order functioning. So we can see that adolescents are more emotional. We have the so-called emo. And of course, they can now process and think differently as compared to their parents. So there is always a conflict how the parents will deal with teenagers, and even the teenagers, instead of going to their parents, they will just go to their peers and open up their problems and their concerns about their family. They will say that their parents are so strict, their parents, they don't understand them, and even their siblings which are older than them, they will really have that communication problems, they will have that these interpersonal problems and many other social traits that are involved in dealing with others for peaceful living. Thoughts of the adolescents are more logical, abstract, and idealistic according to Piaget. So these thoughts, as compared, of course, to children, what they can be more logical in the sense that they consider many things before they will say something. They will also consider many things before they will decide or something like that. But there are also abstract in the sense that they could not explain things that are happening to them. They are not clear of how they feel. They are not clear of what they think. And so identity crisis happens in this age. But most of them are, according to Piaget, are idealistic. Their ideas are more than what is practical on what is happening around them, and they think a better future, which they dream to happen. So they are idealistic in the choice of their friends. They are idealistic in the choice of the political personality that they must vote. They are idealistic in the group that they have to be in. And even if they have a choice, they will choose a different parents or siblings. Adolescence is a stage that provides interactions of the physical, cognitive, and emotional development. So there is a fast or quick development within the physical, cognitive, and emotional. And if these things are not properly understood by an adolescent, instead of helping him to be developed as mature individual, it will give him problems to adjust. As this interaction progresses, new range of cognitive capacities creates a tremendous impact in academic tasks. So, all these changes that are happening within an adolescent's physically, cognitive, and emotional developments have, of course, correlations to their academic performance. It can affect it positively or they can affect it negatively. So there must have a guidance of a counselor or the parents themselves as well as of the teachers concerned so that these adolescents will be guided properly to have a very good performance and so that their learning development will be positive in nature. So there are three periods in the adolescence, and each period have different changes. So we can consider the early period, middle period, and late period. And the changes can be divided into biological change, cognitive change, as well as the social change. Let me give you an example. The development of adolescents in the early period in the biological change, the following are the changes that will take place. Growth is part, skin, voice, and body hair changes. It also increases in body fats as well as the development of secondary sex characteristics. In the middle biological change, during the middle period, there is the secondary sex characteristics continue to develop. There is a high levels of androgens, secretion increasing, desire for sexual stimulation leading to sexual maturation. And in the late adolescent period, physically mature. Now, in the cognitive changes in the early period, the adolescents have abstract and logical thinking. They can also do hypothesis testing. And there is also a firm grasp on cause and effect relationship. In the middle stage or middle period, the cognitive changes are the following: emotional and intellectual capacity increase. They are becoming emotional during this time, and they can do abstract and logical thinking, and of course, they can function autonomously. And in the late period, about 18 to 19 years old, they have already established self-identity, in bolstered self-esteem, and they can also be adult-like cognitions. And the social changes happens in the different period. In the early period, there is an increased interest in opposite sex. So here we find that adolescents are now having boyfriend or best friends, as well as they are now starting to court. So we have to really guide them so not marry at this early age. Adjustment to independence and self-reliance. And in the middle period, the social changes are they seek distinctiveness and develops preferences. In per relationships are given greater significance. And in their late adolescence period, they plan for the future and establish more intimate relationships. Adolescents learn better in the following circumstances. Number one, when learning is appropriate to them. So the teachers must be using examples, must be preparing lessons that are within the period of an adolescence. They learn better when they are intellectually intrigued. So we must, of course, give cases about adolescents. We have also to use the different applications in games in the computer so that they will always be interested in the subject or the topics that we will be discussing. Let us use Dota, let us also use the Mobile Legends and many examples such as FAD, as well as the J-pop, so on and so forth. They learn better when knowledge happens through interaction. We have to give students to discuss among themselves, to share their experiences to one another. We can also make use of group activities, the performance-based activities for our adolescents. They learn better when there are multiple strategies that are used by the teachers, as well as we teach our students, our adolescents, to use different strategies so that they will establish an effective study habits. Opportunities are abundant. When we give our students quizzes, we have to give multiple of chances for quizzes for students, for adolescents, or even if we give assignments, we have to give them multiple assignments or many times of the assignments, of the state works, and other performance outputs. Adolescents learn better when there is guidance and feedback is given to them. So we must always provide guidance to our adolescents because we want them to mature properly. We want them to be emotionally mature. So our guidance, because we have experienced to be an adolescent, so our experiences can be a good foundation for them to be like us in the future. So our feedback will also help them to perform better. They learn better when the environment is safe and supportive individuals among them. And the last, about adult learning. So there are characteristics of adult learner. One, the adult learner need to know something. They have self-concept of themselves already, and they have already experienced many things. They are always ready to learn if they enroll, and the orientation must be brief, and we should not spoil their time of repeating different directions and instructions. And they are, of course, highly motivated. Most of them, when they enroll in a course or in a program, they are already motivated to study. And how do we motivate an adult learner? One, by making them having social relationships, to make them new friends, to meet and to meet for associations and friendships. They are motivated to learn, the adult, when they have external expectations, when they comply with the instructions from someone else, to fulfill the expectations or recommendation of someone with formal authority. But of course, when we give instruction, when we give our recommendation, it must be brief and be clear to all of them. Another way of motivating an adult learner, we have to bring them to a social welfare for improvement of their ability to serve mankind, prepare for service to the community, and improve the ability to participate in community work. Then, they will be more motivated if they have personal advancement to achieve higher status in a job. So promotion is needed for them so that they will be learning more within their jobs or within their employment. Then, we have also cognitive interest as one motivator to an adult learner, so that they will learn for the sake of seeking knowledge for its own pace and to satisfy an inquiring mind. Last in this video are the adult learning principles that we have to understand when we teach adult for learning. One, learners need to know. Need course goals, topics, answer why, what, and how. What engagement in collaborative planning process for own learning provides options when possible. So it is very important that when we are teaching adult, everything must be clarified, the goals, the all their questions must be answered before they will start learning a certain program or a certain training. Another principle about self-concept of the learner, their general desire to be autonomous and self-directing, and we have to encourage them for lifelong learning skills whenever possible because they are already matured if they are positive of learning more, so we have to emphasize and motivate them to continue studying because it will be better for them to serve their the mankind better. Prior experience of the learner. Recognize and understand previous experience type and quality to use as a resource and to build upon. So their experiences are good foundation to start and motivating them to continue studying so that because their experiences must have a value for them to learn, to continue, and to improve. The next learning principle, readiness to learn. Most of the adults need to see relevancy, usefulness to real life. If they enroll, they must see its significance and relevance to their job, relevance to their family, as well as to their personal life. It may need changing levels of assistance or scaffolding. So meaning that their status at the present must be assessed first before we can give them an instructor or a professor so that they will continue to advance. Next principle, we have orientation to learning. They prefer problem-solving learning orientation and they prefer experiential hands-on learning. Not too much of lecture, not too much of discussion. And the last, motivation to learn, it is more intrinsic internal satisfaction. So it is for their own self-esteem or satisfaction for their growth and importance of personal relevancy now that they are already share Jesus.
Subscribe and
Subscribe and
share
share
Paraclet
Paraclet TV.
TV.
Go, go, go.